This episode is brought to you by High Point Market. Welcome to the Design Dash podcast, your guide to designing a life you love. Join us as we explore the keys to living the life you want without compromise. Hey everyone, welcome to the Design Dash podcast. I am your co-host, Melissa Grove. I'm here with my co-host, Lori Mansky, and we're getting ready for summer. We're getting ready for your summer intern. We actually are just jumping off hot from one of our community coffee chats. And it seems like a lot of designers right now are preparing for the summer with internships, and they have a lot of questions. So we want to answer those questions today because we just hired a couple of summer interns. So it's fresh on the mind.
And one is starting today.
Yes, that's right.
So we talk about this a lot, actually. I think interns are oftentimes the first person a solopreneur hires.
Yeah.
Because it's you're helping the industry by training someone new and seems accessible. Maybe they're part-time. So summer intern, first of all, do you need one? And where do you find them? So what do you think, Melissa? Do you need a summer intern?
I mean, I know we do. We absolutely do. And we can go into it later about actually what they do. But we actually have a need for 2 interns this summer. It just turns out, I mean, there's a lot of just going back and forth samples. We just redesigned and renovated our studio. So we have a lot of samples that are just exploded throughout the studio, and we need some help. So I say,
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
I don't know that all designers do this, but our design team tends to hoard samples, like
Yeah.
fabrics everywhere, tile everywhere, just everywhere. And so I think a summer intern is a great opportunity to help get that in check. But that's not all they do. Like,
Right.
library is not the only thing they do. I guess let's talk about what is it that we ask them to do. So we have someone starting today. What's our first step with this intern?
Well, we'd like to get them onboarded, of course, because you pay our interns. You have to. So we actually get them started with getting into all of our systems. So Basecamp, JustWorks, everything that they need in order to communicate, because they're not here full time. We have in the past had some interns who are available full time, but usually in the summer we don't. So we just want to get them into how do we communicate? How are they going to get things assigned to them? And we do a lot of that through Basecamp because we are a hybrid team. That is something important to remember. We're not in the studio all the time, but the intern, anytime they're working, will be in the studio. So I think the very first thing that we do is determine how we communicate with them.
Yep. Another thing is, like, who do they report to? So if you're a solopreneur or a small firm, they're probably reporting directly to you. But in our team is a little bigger, and so we have to determine, and we're really specific about who the intern reports to, because if they are getting information from everyone, that's going to be super confusing, especially for someone like, let's assume this is a student. They need this internship for credit at school. They are not necessarily going to know how to navigate a bigger firm that doesn't give them really specific information, right? So
Right.
we are very clear about, you report to Lisa, for example, and if you need anything, that's who you're going to. What else? Let's see. How do we find these interns?
Uh, I mean, it really depends. A lot of times it just comes from LinkedIn. LinkedIn has been a really good one for us because that's just everybody else's go-to. Social media is also a really good resource. So we'll advertise in stories and promote in the feed that we're looking for an intern. We obviously have it posted on our website because a lot of our interns, they're still in school. So when they're seeking out an internship, they're researching who are the firms here because they might not be native to Houston. They're just going to school here and living here through the summer, or maybe they're out and about. So the website's been really good for us as well. We've tried job fairs to hire interns, and that works as well. It's just a little bit more intensive and
Yeah,
time
like a
consuming.
college job fair.
Yep, and
Yep.
college job boards as well. So I mean, we really run the gamut, but I think that maybe our for the past 2 years, and we'll do a spring, a summer, and a fall intern. Sometimes they can stay, from spring through summer or summer through fall, but most of them have come from LinkedIn.
Okay. So that's good. Like if you're listening to this looking for an internship at a firm, LinkedIn, like go and look. We also, what I've done in the past too is reach out to the interior design program at universities in your area. And in Houston, it's actually an interesting kind of area for interior design programs. There aren't a lot. Like there's maybe, I think there's one. There's Houston City College, HCC has a internship or a interior design program. So we actually reach out to like SFA, for example. So it may be that someone's just going to school in Dallas or Austin, but they're in Houston for the summer. And so we have to go outside of our city to find somebody through a university. So yeah. Anyway, I think I don't know, most of our interns, at least the summer interns, have come from Stephen F. Austin.
Mhm.
I want to say the majority. So we have two this summer. One is industry connection, so knows an architect that we work with quite often, and so reached out through the architect, and so that worked out really well. And then the other, I actually don't know where she came from.
I can look really quickly, but I mean, we
Yeah,
have one thing is also we have an in-house admin HR person who handles all of our hiring. So that makes it really
that's
easy
true.
for us. I mean, Laura and I will determine the roles and responsibilities, but then somebody else is posting this, doing that first screener. So we have just a few questions. Where do you go to school? How much experience do you have? What are your requirements for your internship or your practicum? Because a lot of people will say, well, I need to fulfill 232 hours of such and such. We may not have that
Right.
sometimes, depending on workload and where we are, or if we already have an intern, and then sometimes we need to. But once we get through those kinds of questions, then she'll interview with the design team. Usually, is she?
And then another important thing, like that's a good point. Like they need a lot of hours to satisfy their program's internship requirement. They
Yeah.
may also have to report to a registered interior designer. So, for example, whoever they is signing off on their paperwork for their program may have to have their registration with the state of Texas, for example. I
Yeah.
don't. And so, and there's no one in our firm who is registered, which sounds crazy, but it's true. Like we have, I think, I'm pretty sure we have zero registered interior designers in our firm. And so if that intern is coming to us from a program that requires that, they probably have to get special permission to work with us.
Yes. And we
Um,
have had people do that before.
right. And so it doesn't mean they can't work with you. It just means they need like permission from their program advisor. And so just make sure that happens. Um, what do interns do all summer?
Oh my gosh. They do so many things. I actually had to pull up
You're like, what do
names.
they do?
But I mean, a lot of times they do help organize and clean out the library, which I know sounds really tedious. I'm not one of those people who's just like, let me just give this task to an intern because I don't want to do it. It's tedious. It's grunt work. I hate the term grunt work. I think that's so gross.
Yeah, I do
Um,
too.
there is something about doing those kinds of tasks though, like cleaning up the library that can be beneficial as long as you're framing it like you're going to learn about these different vendors. You're going to learn
Yep.
about different materials as you collect these things, ask questions, bring this up to us because an internship at the end of the day, it isn't just like extra help for you, although it's very helpful. It's a learning experience for them. And so we really try to structure it so they get something out of it, even with those things where it feels like, well, I'm just putting samples into a file. Well, sure, but now you are also learning about polyhunt fabrics and the way that this stuff gets organized. So they keep the materials in the library organized. They order other project samples if we need them, which we've been renovating our library, so we've been throwing things out that just have been overused, ordering new samples, and the intern can of course assist with that and make sure that they get received. Because every once in a while, a vendor will just come in with a bunch of samples. They always want to talk to a designer. We're hybrid, so there might not be anybody there. So it's nice to have the intern take care of all of that. They also help prep for meetings because our meetings
Mm.
require a lot of printing, getting materials ready, and those are things that necessarily like our office admin. can't really help out with. Like she's not
Right.
necessarily a designer, so she's not in all of these folders and things like that. Plus, this is really good. Again, a learning experience for that intern to see, oh, hey, this is all of the non-glamorous work
Yeah.
that goes
And
into
what's even
presenting to
required for a
clients.
presentation.
Exactly. Like we have
Yeah.
these huge, large format documents that need to get printed. And that's, I mean, just, I know this just sounds really silly, but there are just basic things I think that you need to understand. And one of those things is printing. Like, and I know that it's silly, but it's also just like how to use a Zoom, how to use Outlook. Like they, they're not learning that in college.
No.
So those those kinds of things are really important, even though they seem really silly.
And
Uh,
even back to like the vendor library and fabric sorting and returning materials, I think it really is helpful at an internship level to do those things. Physically take them to the showroom. This sounds so basic, guys, but I have interviewed multiple people for even senior level roles that have never set foot in a showroom.
yeah,
And that sounds crazy town to me, but it has happened. So if you are listening and you're like, I want to be an intern, but I feel like Melissa said, I don't want to do all this front work. It does feel like that sometimes, but it's also super valuable because I say in my interviews, what are your favorite showrooms at the Decorative Center? And if they say to me, I've never been there, holy moly, that ain't gonna work. Like you have to know how to go into these showrooms, how to return things, how to source things, how to pull things, how to talk to a rep.
yeah.
Really basic. Do that during an internship. Have your intern do it because it is valuable information.
Absolutely. I mean, and these are skills, going into a vendor and feeling confident because you've been there before. That's a
Yeah.
skill that's acquired. It's not something that
Yes.
you know and can do. I know that this has been really big on social media lately is Kate Wagner. She's a writer and she's been talking a lot about the de-skilling in the architecture industry because people,
Hmm.
they don't learn a lot when they're in school. They're just learning how to use not even CAD anymore, but
Well,
they're
it's
just
very conceptual
learning.
too. Yeah.
Yes, and so she's just like, nobody's learning how to draw anymore, and so she's seeing like there's just this big divide between the old guard and the new guard, and she's just like, yes, obviously you need to understand sourcing online, absolutely, but
Yes.
there is a lot of value to that face-to-face connection.
There is. It's funny though. Yeah, you're right. Because like people that are newer to the industry may just feel like I can just do this online. I don't
Yeah,
need to go to a showroom. And yes, I am old guard. I started in those showrooms and I think they have a lot of value. You're actually touching and feeling the things that are going to go into your projects. And when this is actually a practical example, we recently had a designer specify a tile for a shower floor that was different than the tile for the rest of the bathroom floor. Those two things have a joint. The thicknesses of those two materials and how they join matter. And if you don't physically see them in person, how are you going to know? How are you going to know how those two things are going to join? So it's like that kind of just fundamental knowledge that you have to have
yeah.
in this industry. You can get that as an intern.
Yeah, and I think as a designer who's hiring an intern, it's our responsibility to expose them to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And of course, again, to frame it not as, oh, you just courier my samples around, but like this is what you actually get out of this. Um,
For the
but yeah,
record, we can actually hire a courier to return our samples.
and have done that too. Uh,
Yep.
so I don't know. I'm really big with just going back to the fundamentals, like especially as you just increase your responsibilities and grow as a person. It's often those fundamental things that you learned really early on in your career that shaped who you become.
Yep.
And I think that that's why these internships are so important.
I think beyond like the sample library is huge for learning. Obviously, we need it. It gets messy. It's really can be gross. Like, yes, it needs organizing. But beyond that, like let's say you're doing a summer marketing campaign. You need to put together gifts that you're going to go pound the pavement, hand to builders so you get in front of them, architects, whoever. They can also help with that. Like an intern can help you assemble that. That's also teaching them small business realities,
Yeah.
which are you are very it's high touch. Like we are a niche industry. It's very high touch and personal. So I think that's good to show them. But then they can also do like a lot of those tasks that aren't necessarily high value for you as the firm owner. They can assist in that. Um, What else? They can help with drawings in a very monitored, closely monitored. Obviously, you don't want them doing like a very detailed interior elevation that you're going to submit for construction unless you're reviewing it, because that can be dangerous. But they can help with space planning. They're probably doing that in school, so they would know how to do that at least at a high level.
Mhm.
What else do we have our interns do?
They can help out with digital hygiene. I think that, uh I mean, it's not the most fun thing in the world, but when you're reorganizing the way that you're saving your projects, you're learning about those projects and you're
Yeah,
learning about the hierarchy and the organization
the
of
naming conventions. Yes.
yeah. I mean, when I first started here, the only way that I really learned about past projects, right? Because it's easy to know about the projects that are happening while you're here, was because I was in there reorganizing them, taking a look at them, like looking at everything that we had shared
Mm,
on SharePoint and in our drives, and then reorganizing it in a way that was cleaner because it just gets messy because everybody's working so quickly. And that's really great too because you as a business owner will never do that.
no.
And you shouldn't. So it's really great to have an intern do it. And don't worry that the intern doesn't know how to organize it or doesn't know how to do this. Like, that's okay too. It's going to look better than it was,
Yeah.
regardless.
As long as they're not deleting your entire file, just make sure that
Right.
doesn't
Which that happens too.
happen. Has that happened to us? I feel like it has.
It happened to me at a different firm, but luckily,
Oh,
like Dropbox keeps
that's what I'm thinking of. Yes, you
everything.
told me that story.
Dropbox keeps everything, and they used to, so we were able to recover it, even if like we couldn't find it locally.
Yeah. Um, so I mean, an intern is very task oriented. Um, it's good to tell them the why of the things that you're asking them to do. Like,
Yeah.
hey, could you do X, Y, and Z because this is going to help me in this way, or this is going to help the project in this way, or it'll help. You're going to learn X by doing this. I think it's really good to give the why, but they are going to be very task oriented, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But have a plan going into them starting. Hey, week one, we're tackling these things. Week 2, we're tackling this. Like, I know it sounds daunting to come up with an entire summer of task list, but get through like even the first 2 weeks of, hey, this is what this person's going to be doing before day 1, before they come.
Yeah.
That way you don't feel like, oh, I've got to watch them and hand them something and they're going to come to me every 5 minutes asking a question. You want to get ahead of it.
Yeah, we always
Mhm.
have a to-do list, like a task list of things that when we're not available or when the designers aren't available, the intern can then reference these things and still have something to work on without having to be directed. And we also use Basecamp as our project management system. There's a lot of to-dos that just come out of like our meetings, our monthly and our weekly meetings, which interns aren't always in meetings. They're certainly not in
No.
client meetings because we also
Mm-mm.
bill for our interns, so that would be kind of silly. But anything that we think, because it's so hard to just predict everything that you're going to need an intern to do because our industry is just so dynamic. So we'll assign tasks there in Basecamp as well. So then they have something. But I think you're right. Like you have to set an expectation with an intern. They are never. I mean, a really great intern would, but I have zero expectation that they're going to anticipate my needs
Yeah.
ever. They're an intern.
Mhm. Agreed. Okay, so you just said something really important in passing, and it's that we bill for our interns.
Hmm.
We also pay our interns and we
Yeah.
pay them pretty well. Like we're not paying them 12 bucks an hour minimum wage. Like we're paying them a decent wage that you would expect of an intern in our region.
Hmm.
So talk about that a little bit. Like the billing of the intern, how much we're paying them, and then what you should expect to make.
Yeah, so we're in Houston, and so, I mean, that's just something to keep in mind because we're probably not gonna pay what an intern would get in New York or something like that.
Totally.
You do have to pay your interns. We're a for-profit business, so you have to pay them. But that's great because then you can also bill for them too. Now, they don't bill at a very high rate, but they bill
No.
enough to cover their hourly rate, which can vary depending on how much experience they have. We may work with an intern who is a sophomore in college. That's a very different pay scale than an intern who maybe they already have a year internship under their belt and they've graduated. So
Right.
there could be a wide hourly rate there. Um, but they are always hourly, so they do have to fill out a time card, all of that kind of stuff. They do have to log their time so the client knows to pay for it and all of that good
That's great
fun.
for them to learn though too.
Yeah, because I mean, if they are going to have their own business or work as a
Work for another
designer
firm.
that bills hourly, it's good to get into the habit of
Yep.
logging that time.
I know how to track my time. Yep, that's smart. And then we're not billing for every moment of their time. If they are organizing the library, that's not billable.
Oh, yes, it has
But
to be client work.
if we have them going to pick up fabrics for a specific project, prepping for the presentation, like you said, that's a very specific project. That's what we're talking about is billing.
Mhm.
And so we're not expecting to cover the cost of the intern necessarily, but I think oftentimes we do.
You will because you're gonna charge more than what their hourly rate
Yep,
is. So you still have to think
exactly.
about your profit margins. You're still a business as much as we wanna help out interns, but we still wanna make
Yeah.
money.
Yeah.
So it usually works out. And the hourly rate is so, so low still compared to, like, what your rate is
Right.
as a creative director or a principal that it's totally fine.
Yep. So, moral of the story, you can have a summer intern.
Yeah.
You can find them easily on maybe not easily, but through your network or LinkedIn. You're going to pay them. You're also going to bill for their time, and you're going to come in into the internship. They're going to come in ready to work with a task list. So you're going to
Yeah.
orient them on day one. I think that's successful. And for example, we have an intern starting today, which is mid-May. If you're listening to this later, it's mid-May, and she'll stay when till end of August.
Yeah, till mid-August, but when
Yep.
when the fall semester starts.
Yeah. So, and then we have another intern that starts what in 2 weeks.
Yes. Yeah.
And so she's really like an 8-week intern.
Yeah.
And so it can vary. And then, like Melissa said, some can stay even 2 seasons. So
Yeah.
really,
We
whatever
have
works for you.
or, I mean, we have somebody who was an intern and now she's a associate designer. They could stay forever. So
Love that. Yes. And that is the goal too. So when you're hiring an intern and you're interviewing, you're not just interviewing for 8 weeks. The goal is that, like, once they finish school, it could be somebody that comes back or they even stay with you until they finish school. So we
right.
are oftentimes thinking long term where it makes sense. And yeah, I think that's a great way to look at it. All right. Let us know how it's going with your summer internships. And if you're a firm owner, how it goes with your summer hire. We are rooting for you and happy to help if you need it.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you for listening. Make sure to check out our next podcast coming live next week on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. In the meantime, you can find us and more wonderful stories like these on designdash.com. And make sure to follow us at Design Dasher on Instagram and TikTok. Till next time.